some reason are able to catch it up. And I always forget to do the recording, so I'm really impressed with myself tonight. So, welcome to the Mindfulness Training 8-week program, plus the teacher training program. That's if you obviously choose to do that and want to be accredited from that angle. I started the teacher training in, let me think, 2016 out of a yoga studio, a place called Living Yoga. Do you know it, Nisha? Living Yoga? No? Okay.
I've heard of it, but no, I don't know it very well.
Okay, okay. So I was very involved with Living Yoga for many, many years, and I was friendly with the founder. Her name is Cheryl Duncan, but she's now living in Germany. And so I just kind of started humbly. I was just teaching there for a while, and then I thought, there's all this yoga teacher training. How come there's no mindfulness teacher training? Like, what's with that? And then I actually put something together. And in 2016, I sort of introduced it at the yoga studio, and I had like 20 people arrive, and it was cool. But it was really rough. I mean, if I compare it to what it is now, it was humble beginnings. And then in 2018, I had one student who was the learning and development manager for RMB Bank. Her name is Lisa Stead. And Lisa came to me and said, "Do you think we can take this into the corporate space?" And I was like starting to get nervous, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's do it." You know what Richard Branson says: if you don't know how to do it, just say yes, and then figure it out along the way. But Lisa was very professional and strong, sort of HR wellness background in the corporate space. I didn't have that background. I was in advertising for most of my career. So Lisa sort of gently guided the process, and we started out with 10 people who volunteered. And Lisa created a boardroom at Merchant Place. I don't know if you've been to Merchant Place. It's sort of the head office for RMB and First Rand. And yeah, so I trained those 10 people in 2018, and then their job was to hold space pretty much for their colleagues. So Susan would open up at 8 in the morning and lead a 20-minute practice. And then Vuso would come in at 10:30 and he would lead a practice. And then Yoshini would do the lunchtime practice at 1 o'clock. So you had like 5 people who would volunteer throughout the day, and they would come in and just hold space and give a guided practice for 20 minutes. And then, it was so amazing because I'd arrive and I'd see people queuing up outside to go in, and it was amazing, like just their colleagues. And I mean, these were normal people. They didn't have degrees in wellness, or they weren't psychologists. They were bankers, but they just had like this desire to give back and to I suppose to be of benefit. So it was so successful that we did another group and then another group. So within 2 or 3 years, we had like a team of about 35 people that could alternate between each other, and there was a timetable, and then the pandemic happened. The famous quote, "And then the pandemic happened." Right? We've all, I think, is the title of a book maybe. And then the pandemic happened, and then I was terrified. I thought my job was over. I didn't know what to do, because I'd spent most of my days in R&B, in ABSA, in FNB, in the middle of town, in Sandton. So, all my work was live facilitation, and it was pure mindfulness. And then, yeah, the pandemic happened, and then a friend of mine phoned me. Her name is Nirasha, and she said, "Get off your lazy ass and do a 21-day mindfulness challenge online on Zoom." And I said, "What is Zoom and how do I do it?" And anyway, so she helped me very much, and I got going. As lockdown started, I ran my first day, and then I did 21 days. And I started like at 4 in the morning and ended at 11 o'clock at night, and I did that for 4 months because as I finished one, I'd have to start another one. And FNB, First Rand, found out about it, DHL, Anglo, Sanlam, Ernst& Young. I mean, it just kind of grew and grew and grew, APSA. And next thing I was running back-to-back programs online during the pandemic. So it was probably the busiest time of my life when everybody was, baking cupcakes and doing TikTok dancing videos. I was I was burning out. I was burning out in mindfulness. So ironic. And our business grew. We went from like 3 people to 13 people in a year. So it was really grew way too quickly, actually. But it then started to spread because it got taken on by a lady called Megan Gray, who at that time was the wellness boss for First Rand, which included RMB and FNB. So she had a portfolio of like 50,000 people. And she said she wants mindfulness to be spread right through the organization. And it is, and it was. So I guess I pioneered mindfulness in this country for not only for yoga studios and sort of people working from home or people, just like entrepreneurs, but also for large corporate. So if you had said to me 10 years ago that I'd be making a full-time living from being a mindfulness coach, I would have said that you are crazy and that's a complete impossibility. But the world has changed, and I'm living my dream, my work dream. So I have to pinch myself sometimes because I really, really just love my job more than anything. And I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to get started, and I get blamed for being a workaholic by my family and friends. But when you love something, is it really work? It's just your passion. It was always my passion. I was teaching mindfulness after hours when I was in advertising. I was a managing director of my own business, but in the evenings and on weekends, I'd be teaching. I taught at a yoga studio in Thornhill Estate. I volunteered. I didn't ask for any money. I just did it because I loved it. Just so I can help out in the community, just so I could sort of spread the word. Sorry, I just want to see if Haley. Yeah. So anyway, that was the story with regards to the teacher training. And then I thought maybe what we could do is just check in. And next week we're going to do a more in-depth, like maybe your mental health journey, and we'll give you like 5-6 minutes to sort of unpack your life so we can get to know you a little bit. But maybe we can just go around and you can like say, who you are and perhaps your interest in mindfulness. And, we don't have to go on too long, but it would be nice just to say hi and get to know you straight off the bat, So who would like to go first? Little intro.
Yeah, I don't mind going first.
Okay, thanks, Nisha.
So my name is obviously Nisha. I actually have a history in corporate. Been in corporate for I think 13 years, and I'm qualified as an accountant. But it never really fitted my profile. And happily married, have 2 kids, and after I had my second kid, I had almost the guts to kind of leave that space. It actually fitted both profiles, mom of 2 and trying to explore this yoga world that kept calling me. So ever since then, I've been teaching yoga, but currently at a bit of a crossroads with that as well. due to a few personal health reasons. But all through my life, so in my corporate career and even now, I battle with a lot of anxiety. So wellness and mindfulness has always been a very soft spot for me, or it interests me a lot. So I find myself like researching it, nerding out on it, just like out of interest. That's my hobby, reading. And now that I'm a yoga teacher, it's actually my career and hobby, reading. So I'm just always like reading stuff on all of these things. And you actually did a session with us when I did my teacher training at Ishta. And it was always at the back of my mind that this is a course that I would like to do at some point in my life. And yeah, hence I'm here.
Thank you so much. I do
Sure.
remember that actually, and I miss Ishta. I haven't been there for a long time. Also, that's another thing that the pandemic changed is those live. I just got lazy, I suppose, a bit hermetic. I must get back to Ishta. Have you been there recently, Nisha?
No, I actually haven't. I live in Meyersdal, so it's quite far away.
Yeah.
So that's the
Okay.
one thing. But I am in touch with Angela a lot because I help them with their accounts.
Okay.
So I speak to her regularly. I just don't go to class as often as I would like to go. Yes.
Nice. Well, I love it. The mindfulness geek. I'm totally there with you. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nisha. Okay, who would like to check in next?
I don't mind going next.
Okay.
All right, so I'm Kelsey, and I'm a speech therapist and audiologist. I have my own practice. So when I saw this, it was part of, I think I saw your introduction course. I can't remember where I saw it. It was one of our speech therapy groups, and I was like, okay, I need this because I work alone quite a lot, and I don't say no. I struggle, so I say yes, yes, yes to everything, overload myself, and I don't often check in with where I'm at and how am I feeling and how far can I push myself in terms of my patience and things like that. So I just thought I really need the help to reflect and be able this like almost self-discipline. Like also that meditation was extremely hard for me. I never stop. So to do that, I was struggling. I don't have ADHD or anything. I just can't stop my brain. I'm also on a journey now. We want to start a family. So I'm married and we want to start a family, but we're struggling with that. I have to go through treatments and stuff. So that is something that I'm struggling with, and like emotions and things. So I just want to be more aware of where I'm at and how to just be kind to myself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah, and all the best with it, hey.
Thanks.
It's a big journey to start a family. I've got a 15-year-old son. He's with me tonight, and just the best journey ever, but like amazing and terrifying all at the same time. And yeah, your mind, and you're not alone, right? The mind is busy racing with all these thoughts and emotions and things like that. So yeah, I think do you know Laura Benningson, Kelsey?
No.
Okay, she's also an audiologist, and so I think maybe she invited me onto that platform to talk to all the audiologists, and I think maybe that.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
we did. And then we did the like the introduction, and then that's where I saw it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, Lizzie's here. There's little Lizzie. Here we go.
Oh, sweet.
This is her first mindfulness class. Yeah, she's a darling. Well, thanks, Kelsey. Thanks so much for the introduction and welcome.
Thank you.
And then Ursula.
Okay, so I'm Ursula. I'm a psychologist. I work in private practice in Modderfontein in Johannesburg. I met Mark through the yoga studio in Modderfontein that he mentioned, where he was doing meditation classes, and yeah, I enjoyed the mindful space. And in 2018, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, an autoimmune condition. And although it's like I don't really have symptoms, it was a bit of a wake-up call in terms of self-care. And I then started going on silent retreats, and I find those really, really, really powerful for myself. And I started a daily meditation practice at the time. And I really enjoy, yeah, mindfulness. Like you mentioned, Nisha, I also struggle with anxiety. And so having, yeah, just a space where I can yeah, just decompress and, you know, have the neural pathways realign feels really good. Yeah, Kelsey, similar to you, and we are also on a fertility journey that hasn't been going according to plan, and it's been very, very painful experience over the last 2 years, and I'm definitely more of a type A person, and I think mindfulness just helps me to surrender. I also use mindfulness a lot with patients in the room, and I find it incredibly helpful. I also use hypnotherapy with patients, and I see there's like a bridge between the two. Yeah, so I'd like to use it perhaps in a more effective way with my patients as well. Yeah, and I'm just really looking forward to the next few months, and yeah, what I'm going to learn and the practices and learning from everyone in the space. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, Ursula. And it's wonderful to see you again, and to be in your presence. And yeah, I'm so grateful, and to you for joining this this program, and we're going to have so much fun. And yeah, thank you for sharing with us. It's really awesome. So I do have a Monday night group, and yes, I'm running 2 groups at the same time. They sometimes run 3 groups at the same time, but at the moment it's just 2. I've never really advertised the teacher training. I just posted on social media, and it's been going since 2016. So it's just one of those things. Like, I know that if I get a marketing specialist and I start to do like proper, it'll probably be a full-time thing. But for now, I'm happy with the way it is. I like it sort of intimate, small, and people can engage, ask questions, stop me at any time, and if maybe you have an aha moment, or you want to add something from your own experience or what you've read or your own research, then you're more than welcome to. I'll give you a bit of background of how I got into mindfulness, because maybe next week, you can sort of talk a little bit about your journey if you want, as vulnerable as you want to be. But I started out, anxiety's always been with me. It still is. My dad died of suicide when I was 21. It was the second attempt. First attempt, I saved his life. Second attempt, he got it right. I wasn't there. And he was just like a normal guy. I mean, there was nothing really wrong with him mentally. Not that I could tell. I mean, he was a very stable together person, but he had a couple of knocks in life all at the same time. So I'm very aware that, stress and life can throw curveballs, and it can really tip us over. And it can do that to pretty much anybody. I know that some people are born, more resilient. There is this epigenetic story where we are prone to, receive what our parents have been through, or how they managed stress or didn't. My mom didn't manage stress very well. I guess I was born anxious, and I had many panic attacks. After my dad died, I had a lot. It was overwhelming. I had just started a job in corporate advertising. I was working for the ad agency. I was the account manager for Pick and Pay. And as a 23, 24-year-old guy with his own office and a secretary, it was pretty crazy. So it was just too much for me, and I was having between 10 and 15 panic attacks a day. In fact, as I opened my eyes, I would have a panic attack. As soon as I wake up, yeah, that's where it started. So I was really anti-anxiety medication. I was really cross with my dad's journey because I was just angry, like nothing worked for him. The Prozac, prothiodim, lithium, all of these things, it just made it worse. And I suppose psychiatry back in the 90s was pretty basic compared to what it is now, right? I don't know. But I had a problem with it. So my mother was trying to get me on anti-anxiety tablets, and I refused. And I was very lucky because I came across a lady that she called herself a motivational therapist. Ow! This thing's claws are sharp. So she taught me breathing exercises actually, and I thought, what a waste of time. Like, this woman's just, Nisha, you will know Nadi Shodhana, the yogic breathing technique. So it's pretty much, you close one nostril with your thumb. I think there's many different ways to move your hands, but basically just breathing in through the left, closing the left, exhaling right, and then breathing in right, and then closing the right nostril, exhaling left, and then breathing in left. And that's pretty much what it is. I think it's ancient, very ancient breathing technique. I've tried to find the roots of it. Obviously, it comes from the Indian traditions, possibly 5,000-6,000 years old, maybe older, as a technique to balance and regulate the nervous system. So I was doing that for 10 minutes, and then she said, you got to do that every day. And she said, you got to give up alcohol, marijuana, and you only allowed 1 cup of coffee in the morning, which was terrible. But so I'd stopped going out with my friends. I stuck to it. I did my breathing exercises, and wow, panic attacks went away. And I was like, wow, how come we don't know this? Why did we not learn this at school? Why did my friends not know this? Why did my dad not know this? My mom, no one knew this. No one knows this. My dad, maybe he'd still be alive if he knew how to do these things, and why. So I became fascinated with breath work, and then mindfulness and meditation. And I traveled to London. I lived there for a little bit, and then I backpacked India for 6 months, and then Nepal, Himalaya for another 6 months. And I was fascinated with the ashrams and the temples, and going to the Dalai Lama's teachings. And I had a house in Kathmandu, and I did a 4-month retreat in Kathmandu. And then I really started to immerse myself in Buddhist meditation, because I couldn't really find much in the Western framework other than a religious framework. But there wasn't meditation as much in the Catholic Church. Well, there was, but it was just invisible to me and the church that I went to. But when I dug deeper, I found out that there was a sect called the Carmelites. I don't know if you know, Ursula. You also grew up Catholic, didn't you?
Lutheran.
Lutheran. Okay, I
Yeah.
forgot that you grew up Catholic. The Carmelite nuns, who had a daily meditation practice of about 2 hours a day. And I was like, wow, okay, so the Catholics do meditate. How come they never taught us this at church? Anyway, where was I? So coming back from India and Nepal, I moved into a temple in Auckland Park, and I lived there for 3 years. So I lived in this Buddhist temple for 3 years. And we had sort of monastics in and out coming to visit, and I would make them food and I would look after them. But a lot of the time there was no one there. And people would visit and they'd ask me questions, who was the Buddha and what is meditation, and, like really basic stuff. So I started teaching, and I went from strength to strength. But then I left the temple after 3 years, and I thought to myself, I don't want to convert people to Buddhism. I just want to help people in the way that I had been helped. And so, I left the temple, I met my wife, we had a kid, but all the while I kept on teaching, but I just kind of removed the Buddhism sort of element out of it, which was secular mindfulness. And then I started to study neuroscience and the works of many different Western meditation teachers, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised. And then all of that information, I started teaching in 2001. So what's it now? 23 years of teaching, I guess, in meditation. So that's my background. I never studied my studies was marketing and advertising. I didn't get into anything. I wish I had studied psychology. I wish I had became a psychologist. I'm very envious of Ursula. I would have loved a medical degree, Kelsey, like audiology. My sister's an occupational therapist. She's into neurobiology. She runs an organization called Headway, where it's in Ilovo. People have had head injuries. So she rehabilitates people that have had brain injury to a certain degree, right? People that are quadriplegic, paraplegic, she works with them as well in rehabilitation. So I guess we're very similar, my sister and I, but she's a medical professional. The course, however, is being accredited through the HPCSA, and my sister helped with that. We jumped through some major hoops to get it recognized. So you're going to get 14 CPD points if you do the whole story, including the teacher training, which is great. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. And it's also CETA accredited, ETDA, what is it? CETA accredited. So that also was a major mission. I don't even know why we had it accredited, but anyway, it's accredited. So I want to share. Any questions or comments before I carry on? Okay, you good? All right, so that's just a little bit of background on the course and on me and why I'm doing this. You can see here, there's the FirstRand logo. FirstRand really adopted the program, and they made it their own. There's another organization called PPS Insurance that's just about to embark on a journey with me next year, and I'm going to be moving mindfulness into their organization. It's very exciting, very, very exciting. The corporate world is, like, for me, just mind-blowing, how open and receptive they are to crazy guys like me. The name of the organization that I'm a director in is called Mindful Revolution, and it comes from a cover of the Time magazine in 2014. And it's, what are you playing with? Yes, so busy. It was, when I saw this cover, I knew that something big was happening in the world. I knew that there was a revolution. It was a very appropriate name for what was happening, because it was a revolution. 2014, right? That's 10 years ago. this article came out. I remember I had a copy. I wish I still had it, and it was revolutionary to read it, and it was completely backed by science, and I was fascinated. I thought, wow, science is now doing amazing research in the mindfulness field, and I wanted to know everything about it, like Nisha, the mindfulness geek, right? I couldn't get enough. I had to know what is going on, why it's spreading, what's happening in the world. And then I realized that there was a very big leaning towards proactive mental wellness. And I think that mental health has always sort of been in a reactive space. I recall suffering from burnout in 2017 and being hospitalized for burnout. And, the GP says, go and get a prescription, that's all they say. That's go get a prescription, find a good therapist. But there's no one sort of gives you breath work techniques or mindfulness techniques, that kind of thing. So for this to start spreading in the world was a revolution, was a great revolution. And I kind of think of it, in the 1940s, if you were to go for a run, people would ask you, well, who are you running from? Because nobody really exercised. So in the 1970s, 80s, I recall my father smoking in the car, smoking in his boardroom meetings, even on the airplane. Can you imagine getting onto an airplane and everyone's smoking in the airplane? It was normal. I mean, even sometimes, like, you'll catch a flight, you'll still see the ashtray in the armrest. I don't know, like, some of those planes are still around. I mean, it's mind-blowing to think how accepted it was and normal it was for everyone to smoke. Then, science came in, they said smoking's bad for your health. Now, if you want a cigarette, you've got to walk miles away from everybody, and there's certain designated areas, and you can't smoke indoors and whatnot. So that was a health revolution as well. There was a big health revolution. But I do believe that we are now in a mental health revolution, and we are in it. Like, literally, the wave is breaking, and we're kind of surfing that wave. So if you're here tonight, you're part of that revolution. And in my lifetime, I'm amazed to be a part of it and to see it happen. I often think, this is a funny prophecy. And I pulled this image of Google of this nerdy guy with this cap on, and it's like an EEG cap, it's measuring brain waves. And I just kind of imagine that in the future, we're going to have a hat that you put on, and the hat will measure, or it will scan your brain. And then on your phone will say, your brain is not well trained. Your prefrontal cortex is very weak. Your hippocampus not great. Your parietal region underdeveloped. Your temporal to insular pole also not great. I mean, all of these things. If you went on a date with someone, like, I don't know, you get onto these dating apps and you meet this person, and before you order the bottle of wine, you say, "Can I scan your brain?" And put the hat on, and you go bing, and then it tells you all these things on your phone, and says this person has very little EQ, they're not able to focus, they're highly reactive, very emotional. If it could tell you all of that just from a brain scan, that would be remarkable, right? You would. I mean, I would run. I would just run. But imagine you go on a date and you say, "Oh, you look really beautiful, but what does your brain look like? Let me scan." You say, "Oh, that's a beautiful brain, sexy. I love the shape of your brain." So I think it'll come, in the near future, we'll be judging each other's brains as much as we do each other's bodies, if not more. And you go for a job interview, they won't want to see your CV. They'll want to have a look at your brain scan, And that's pretty remarkable, because I never knew this. There's something called neuroplasticity, in that the brain is changing. The brain is a dynamic changing process. It is neurons that wire together. That's something called Hebb's law. And the brain changes. And my father said, no, the brain is static. You're born with your brain and that's it. But in the last, ever since, MRI scanning has been developed, neuroscientists are saying, no, you think certain thoughts, you do certain things, and your brain changes. And that is amazing. That is amazing. We are living in a very difficult age. I mean, why do people text and drive? Why do they do this? We're all guilty of it, surely. I'm guilty of it too. But why? Any ideas? Why do we do it?
We feel like we have too much to do in too little time, but it's always the case.
Yeah.
No matter, no.
100%. Too much to do and too little time. Someone said FOMO, fear of missing out. And every time that phone buzzes, a lot of people just reach for it. And sometimes at the expense of somebody else's life. Texting and driving has now become the #1 cause of road accidents, and has surpassed drunken driving. So we're in an age of digital distraction. We are in an age where technology is harming our brain. I think we know this. I just don't think we know to the extent that it's harming our brain. Microsoft organization, they did a study and they found that our attention spans as a human race is dropping. We are not able to focus as much as we used to. Reason being is that, Microsoft basically gave this information back to advertising companies to say, you have to keep your messages short and very exciting. Otherwise, no one's gonna look at it. People used to write blogs. They don't do that anymore. Do people still read books? Do you guys still read books? Yeah. I used to read, like when I was younger, I used to read everything. And these days, not so much. Reading is incredible. I mean, that's why reading is so good for us on so many levels, because it is a mindfulness activity. You keep your mind, you keep your awareness on one thing. But Albert Einstein said that technology would be a wonderful servant, but a cruel master. And he said that it would make us zombies in the future. We would just become zombies. So it's pretty bleak sort of quotes by Einstein. But I mean, as we are witnessing, it is a prophecy that seems to be fulfilling itself. We look at children and their inability to even communicate without their device. They can be sitting next to each other, and they don't talk to each other. I remember when I was at school, I'd have a girlfriend, and it was so cool because for her, if you didn't speak to your boyfriend for at least an hour every night, that was a bogus relationship, So I used to get a call every night, and I'd watch the clock because it had to be at least an hour of chatting. and then she was happy. You know, then she was happy. Then her boyfriend loves her. And I was so bored, and I was so, what's the word? I was kind of like searching for things to talk about. I mean, it was painful. It was painful. I would get anxious when the phone rang, you know, because I thought, well, what are we going to talk about tonight? I mean, we spoke last night about stuff. Now I've got to think of things to talk about. But it was really good, actually, for a young person to make conversation, and it's very, you know, amazing emotional intelligence, listening, thinking, talking, keeping it relevant, being funny, you know, all of these things were incredible skills that a lot of us learned from a young age, that I fear that the children of today, the kids today, the teenagers, they're not getting that. As much. We're going to have a little look into the nervous system as well, the difference between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze, and fawn response, why a lot of us are in a major state of stress, chronic stress, a lot of the day, a lot of our life, and mindfulness then helping us to come back into homeostasis, come back into the parasympathetic system, where, you know, the rest, digest, and thrive sort of way of being. Because again, technology and society and the demands on us are ever increasing. This lady here, her name is Sarah Lazar. She is a Harvard neuroscientist. Her work is outstanding. She's been scanning people's brains for a very long time, and she can tell whose brain's looking good and whose brain is undertrained. And she's been doing a lot of work on yogis and mindfulness practitioners. And she says yogis have different brains, and mindfulness people have different brains to normal people, which is quite interesting. So we're going to have a look at that. This man in the red outfit, he's a monk. He's a Frenchman by the name of Mathieu Ricard. And the man in the brown jacket is Richard Davidson, a renowned neuroscientist. And we're going to have a look at some of these findings in terms of happiness. How does mindfulness feed into happiness? Also quite fascinating. So this is the definition. Okay? Has anybody seen this definition before? Yep. Okay. This is a definition by Dr. John Kabat-Zinn. Dr. John started bringing mindfulness into his work in the 1980s at the University of Massachusetts, and started something called the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction Program, MBSR. Had incredible results with his patients, people suffering from triple bypass surgery, chronic pain, and extreme stress. John put them through an 8-week program, and that's, I guess, why this is an 8-week program, plus the teacher training. And he found that the results were so positive and so beneficial. People had, in some instances, a pain reduction of up to 70% in chronic pain, up to 70% pain reduction without meds, just by doing their practice. So his definition, and I think this is the most wonderful definition, there's hundreds of definitions of mindfulness, but John gives us this one. It's paying attention in a particular way on purpose in the present moment, and as non-judgmentally, non-reactively, and open-heartedly as possible. I'm going to ask you to memorize this definition. I will be sending you your homework via WhatsApp. So you don't have to really write it all down, but you can if you want to get an early start. So the whole program is based on this definition. Basically, all we're going to be doing is unpacking what this definition is. Paying attention. We pay attention to our phone, our laptops, our computers. This is pretty much a lot of what we pay our attention to these days. But with mindfulness, what are we paying attention to? Okay, what are we resting our awareness on? This lady here, that's not Jasmine, but I don't know what it is. Anyway, she's paying attention in a particular way on purpose. She's looking at the flowers, she's smelling them. That's the particular way, and she's doing it on purpose. That is a mindful activity. And she's doing it in the here and now, in the present moment. Okay? You see the definition, the present moment? How do people feel when they think of the future, generally? Human beings. Anybody want to take a guess? What's the feeling when we think about next week or tomorrow? Something hasn't happened yet.
Anxiety.
Anxiety. Yeah. Would you agree? Everybody else? Yeah. Nobody ever says enthusiastic, excited, happy. No one.
Maybe in holiday season.
Yes, you're 100% right. So I mean, I had a class with like 200 people, and I asked this question, and there was one person who said excited, and I said, why? Because I'm going on leave tomorrow, she says, you know. Yeah. So it just shows like what we've just exposed is negativity bias. Okay, we're not a happy bunch. Human beings are not happy creatures. There's negativity bias. That, you know, apparently we have 70, on average, 70,000 thoughts a day. And 45,000 of those are negative. That's just an average, right? I'm not saying that's you, but so this negativity bias comes from a very ancient existing way of existing. And it's because, you know, our ancestors would wake up, walk out the cave and think, what could kill me out there today? And what could eat my kids and destroy my family? No one ever walked out the cave thinking, it's Friday, let's party. You know, they didn't, right? They were just anxious and paranoid. They said, like, if you were alive 10,000 years ago, it was more dangerous. It was 100 times more dangerous than a soldier in World War II. Okay? Your environment was just horrific. Okay? There was invading people with spears. There was snakes, scorpions, wild animals. I mean, you name it, you know, people didn't live very long. So we've inherited this negativity bias. But because of neuroplasticity, we can then get ourselves out of that negativity bias if we train our brain in the right way. Okay? I like to think of it as like, you know, you go to the gym. I remember going to the gym and like walking in and not knowing what the machines are, you know. So like someone came to me and said, no, that's the leg machine, not the arm machine. And I was like, oh, I feel like such a fool, you know. Maybe I should get a coach or a personal trainer that can show me around and help me understand what machine works, what body parts, okay? Now, in a similar way with proactive mental wellness and mindfulness training, there are different exercises for different parts of the brain. As you would, this exercise is for your arms, that exercise is for your legs, and so on and so on. There are different exercises for different parts of the brain. So in these 8 weeks, I'm not just going to give you one meditation homework practice. There will be a variety. And that is because different practices will work, different parts of the brain, for a complete and holistic brain workout. And these practices are super ancient, but modern science is confirming all of them. And I'm going to give you evidence of them as well, what science is saying. And then John reminds us of the attitudes of open-heartedness, non-judgment, and non-reactivity. Okay, so there's the attitudes. I like to memorize it by, there are 4 P's: paying, particular, purpose, present. See, there's your 4 P's, easy to remember. And then your 3 attitudes of non-judgment, non-reactivity, and open-hearted. Okay, everyone happy? Stop me at any time. This is what we call the cycle of mindfulness, or the mechanics of mindfulness. You are focusing your attention on a particular object, okay? Your attention will then move. Let's say you're reading a book and you're trying your best to focus, but then your mind keeps wandering. So what do? You bring it back. Or you're doing a breath meditation. You're just focusing on your breath like we did in the beginning, and then you just keep bringing it back. You just keep bringing it back to the breath. That is the active ingredients to our mental health. Why? Here's a difficult question for you. Any guesses? Why is it so important, this process? Your mind wanders, you bring it back. And you make a practice out of it. You do it again and again and again and again and again and again and again.
Trains us to be more present.
Yes, that's part of it. I like that. Correct in many ways.
In some ways, it might also show us that we have choice as to what we focus on.
Yes, 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 that's it. Okay, so you've hit the nail on the head. I know, I mean, I went through, last year I went through a divorce, probably the most painful year of my life. My mind gets stuck in a rumination of what she said, he said, or the trauma of those arguments that led to the separation. Playing over and over and over and over in my mind. And I can't switch it off. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about, right? Or is it just me? Am I the only crazy one? Okay. So over like a washing machine, over and over the same, especially if you've suffered a trauma. I think a lot of post-traumatic stress, there's a huge element of rumination. Am I right, Ursula? It's if you've suffered from trauma, it plays again and again and again and again. And I found myself sinking into a deep depression because I could not get out of my head. I could not leave the painful memories. I could not stop thinking of the life situation that I was in, and it was all negative. And I was sinking deeper and deeper. The thing that saved me really is there's a couple of things, but mindfulness was probably the main thing, because as Ursula said, I had a choice. And Nisha, you know, to be more present, right? So I had a choice. Do I stay in this dark, terrible rumination, or can I smell some jasmine and play with the cat? And then the rumination starts up again, and I go, okay, jasmine, coffee, music. I can choose what I want to focus on. And I can, because I've been doing it for many years. So then it became like a game. Oh, here's the darkness. There's my happy place. How quickly can I come back into my happy place? And again, I'm going to use the gym analogy. You walk into the gym and there is a 35 kilogram weight. And somebody says to you, Kelsey, lift up this 35 kilogram weight above your head. And you go, I can't, I don't have the muscle. Okay, it's heavy. But you decide you're going to go in every day for a year, and you're going to try. And you start with 5 kilograms, and then you go 10, and then eventually you get to 15, you get to 20. And then one day, Kelsey walks into the gym and she lifts that 35 kgs above her head, and everybody's cheering and clapping. But you can't do it the first day. You don't have the muscle. It's the same with our ability, our choice, as Ursula says. We have to build the mental capacity to be able to shift our attention from divisive, afflictive thought and emotion into the present neutral space, or a happier frame of mind. You know, people say to you, just be happy. It's impossible. It's like saying, pick up 35 kgs and lift it above your head. Not possible, but it is. If you've trained, then you can. Okay.
Mark,
Yes.
do you mind if I ask something? I think, like, from our own personal experience, I find it like particularly hard in situations where I feel like I've been wronged, and like, you know, I think of the thing around like forgiveness or letting go or letting be. Is that something that you believe gets easier with mindfulness?
Oh, absolutely, Ursula. I mean, there's a specific practice for that particular emotion. If you've been wronged, you know, and I feel I've been wronged tremendously, right? Forgiveness is a daily practice. It's not something that, you know, just happens. It does over time, I guess, but we can speed up the process through mindfulness. Because every time that thought arrives in our mind stream, it then causes an emotion, and then that emotion builds and builds and builds. So there's an amazing teacher by the name of Chade Mentang. He's the Google mindfulness coach, and he was a Google engineer, and he just had this passion for mindfulness. So Google's got this incredible thing where they give you 20% of your day, you can work on passion projects, and his was mindfulness, and they pay for it. So Google flew in all these incredible mindfulness teachers from all over the world. And then one day someone got stuck in the airport, and then Chade got up and gave a talk, quite impromptu. And everybody loved it. They said, this guy's brilliant. He then left his job as an engineer, He published a book called Search Inside Yourself, which is the play on the search engine Google. And he's now very famous. Okay, he's worldwide famous. He says that you develop HD resolution of mind. HD, high definition resolution, rather than standard definition. So HD resolution of mind is clear. Here comes my mother-in-law. I can see her in the distance, right? There she is. You know, she's down the road, and immediately I'm having mental afflictions. Okay? I can see her. There's my mother-in-law. Oh, I can see that I'm about to lose my mind, my shit. I can see it. Catch myself, awareness. My palms are sweaty. My breath is shorter. I'm changing color. I'm turning red. I'm recognizing all the signs that my body is going through. I can feel myself moving into the sympathetic nervous system state. I need to regulate myself before mother-in-law gets here. Otherwise, it's going to go pear-shaped. Most people are completely unaware of these afflictions as they start to arise, as there's a shift. But if we can catch it when it's very subtle and then mitigate it, then our ability to be response-able rather than reactive is so much more. I like that. See, to respond rather than react. But the untrained mind is very reactive. And there's even a part of the brain that you know is responsible for that. It's called the anterior cingulate cortex, behind the prefrontal cortex. That is like a door, okay? It's like a door. And if that is underdeveloped, you will just be so reactive. You'll say stuff and come out your mouth. You'll be like, I can't believe I said that. You know, the ACC is like a regulator. You know, gosh, I visited my sister's practice, and this poor guy had brain damage to his ACC, and this guy literally said everything that was on his mind. He told me how much he wants to have sex with my sister, and it was like I hadn't even said hello to him, and he just said it straight out. And it was so embarrassing. And my sister was like waving like this, so I didn't get angry, you know. But this poor chap can't, he's probably the most honest person you'll ever meet, because whatever's in his mind will just come out of his mouth. He has no regulator, nothing. Shame. It was really good, really something. So, you know, George Lucas from Star Wars, he says, your focus determines your reality. Our ability to remain focused is our superpower, and that will determine a better life, a better reality. Our ability to stay focused. But the problem is our focus is deteriorating as a human race. Our reality is becoming more difficult, more complex because of this fact. Distraction at its core is this confusion about what matters. One of the big signs of burnout is that you get to a point where you can't prioritize. Everything is urgent. You're shaking your head, you're nodding, Kelsey. You've been there. But burnout. Everything's urgent.
Yeah, I struggle to prioritize. That's one of my biggest issues.
Okay.
Everything's important and everyone's important. It's one of the things that I struggle with, like prioritizing your husband versus your parents versus everybody else, and and what everyone needs, and you're at the back of the list as well.
Yeah.
And then it filters into everyday things like chores as well, and reports, and it's everything.
It's overwhelming, absolutely
Mhm.
overwhelming, this life that we live. I mean, if you think about your grandparents or their parents, before television, even before radio, what life must have been like, you know.
Mhm.
You have dinner as a family. What's next? You know, you sit around reading a book or talking, maybe go for a little walk. You know, there were no phones, no, you know, you can imagine, like, surely a lot more peaceful. Even our sleep is being affected. You know, they say that the blue light of your phone uh, stops the production of melatonin. Now, melatonin is when it gets dark and your brain produces melatonin, but it can only produce melatonin uh, if it's dark, right? But we're in the light, like we're looking at our screen, and you know, and all of those things are stopping that melatonin production, thereby affecting the quality of our sleep, which is affecting our stresses again. So we're going to practice mindfulness, and as we practice mindfulness, it's going to become spontaneous throughout the day. I remember, Nisha, when I started yoga, phew, when was that? I don't know, long time ago. My yoga teacher told me to leave my ego outside next time I go. Anyway, that was a sidetrack. She was a really good yoga teacher. She just called me out. But you know, like you start to do like a twist, you know, like a spine twist, and you do more twists, and then you become very body aware. So like I can be sitting in an office chair, but I'll be all of a sudden spontaneously aware of my posture, aware of how I'm sitting, aware of that I'm sitting too long, that I haven't moved. And that's all from yoga.
Yeah,
Did you know?
that's the thing.
Yeah,
Everyone always comes to the class expecting just to feel relaxed and flexible, but it's so much more beyond that. That's
yeah,
supposed to reach you in your entire day. And I
exactly.
guess it's much the same with mindfulness. It's that
Correct.
meditation that then translates your day. Yeah.
Yeah. Ursula, are you still doing yoga, or did you do yoga? Don't know.
Yes, still doing yoga,
Nice.
still enjoying it.
Cool. Kelsey, do you do yoga at all?
I used to do yoga, but
Okay.
then I moved away from where my yoga instructor was, and I've taken up rebounding.
Oh,
That's nice.
okay.
Yeah, it's quite fun.
Apparently it's really good for you, and the what's it, the lymph nodes and whatnot, the drain. I don't know.
Yes,
Yeah, that's really cool. Lots of fun.
So, sorry,
yes.
Mark. Um, so you guys were saying that you find it really hard when Ursula was saying that she finds it really hard for people that she feels like she's wrong, or situations where she feels like she's been wronged. I find in the journey of motherhood that sometimes I'm wound up so much by everything that's happening that that's when I start to lose my cool. And those days that I don't take out time to sit, and I don't always get a lot of time, it's even worse.
Yeah,
My responses turn into reactions very quickly.
yeah. It's such a valuable point, Nisha. Um, a lot of my students will say that if they don't do their practice in the morning, they feel different throughout the day.
Yeah.
So you kind of, I mean, imagine this, okay? Imagine uh, that nobody brushed their teeth. Imagine a world where nobody brushed their teeth, but there were dentists. And once a month or once a week you go to your dentist, and your dentist tries their best to try and clean your mouth and fix you, right? But the dentist doesn't tell you to brush your teeth, because nobody does. But your teeth are already in a bad way, and the dentist is the only person that can like fix you, you know. Why am I using this analogy? Because I think, and please correct me, or not correct me, but debate me if you feel I'm wrong. But for mental health, it's very similar. No one's doing any mindfulness. No one's protecting their brain. They go to therapy once a week, like going to the dentist. Dentist is very important, right? Therapy is very important. Therapist is super important. In the same way a dentist is. The difference between a dentist, though, is a dentist, and I'm generalizing because I know a person like Ursula is different and unique and way ahead of the curve. But a dentist will always encourage you to brush your teeth. A good dentist, right? They will always say, are you brushing your teeth? Are you flossing? Okay. Now, I imagine a world where every therapist will say to their clients, are you doing a mindfulness practice? Do you know which practices to do? And if you don't do them, I'm going to get on your case. Like my dentist would say, I'm lucky. My dentist is my brother-in-law, you know, and he'll say, you know what I mean? So it really is like that. Like we all brushed our teeth this morning, okay? If we didn't brush our teeth this morning, imagine how you would feel throughout your day. You'd feel terrible. You wouldn't want to get too close to people. You'd be self-conscious. Oh, my breath smells bad. I forgot. Now, in a way, a lot of people then start practicing mindfulness. That's how they feel when they leave the house. Oh, I didn't self-regulate. I didn't calm my mind this morning, and now I've left without all of that magic. And I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it.
But because it's not as tangible, people know that they should, like, because of all of this media around us now, we know we should meditate, but we still don't make that time. Like, so knowing is not half the battle. Like, knowing is like,
Yeah.
it's only the start, you know? Yeah.
Yes. And this is why mental health is so forgotten, and it's like the little cousin that got left behind,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
because physical health is great and dental health is great, and you know, we are all physical, we are all dental, we are all mental. Mental's got a bad rap. You know, I'd say to people, we're mental. I'd say you mental and not me. You know, mental means crazy, but we all have mental health. Okay, we all have mental health. We all have dental health. We all have physical health. This is the stigma, you know, terrible stigma, horrible stigma. I address it every single day of my life. Today, this week, whoa, it's Suicide Awareness Month. I am all over the place talking about what it's like to be the son of a person that took their life. To talk about suicide openly, to normalize the conversation, is difficult, right? People are, it's like a terrible thing to listen to, and people get worked up, and actually even talking about suicide could trigger someone to think about suicide, right? It's just like so hectic. It's such a hectic conversation, but it needs to happen. It's so important for these conversations to happen. Anyway, so yeah, we are, with mindfulness, we can bring mental health into a very dynamic looking thing, you know, where we're talking now about mental fitness. You know, we are being proactive, we're being dynamic, we're making sure that we're ahead of our game, and absolutely to continue going for therapy is a big part of that. is a very important part of that, you know, very much so. Yeah, I don't know what I would do without therapy. So, and again, I also think that meds have their place, right? SSRIs, Butrin, whatever, they really work and they really help people, you know. Rumination, if you talk about rumination, that Butrin works, you know, it actually removes a lot of that from your mind. I know, I've tried it. So I don't diss anything, right? I welcome it all. I just see everything working together beautifully. The problem with mindfulness, and I can honestly, from my perspective, now John Kabat-Zinn would possibly disagree with me, is that if somebody is really depressed and really mentally ill, I don't know. I just, you know, I still debate, I still wonder if that's a good time to introduce them to mindfulness. I'm talking about someone who's really not well. It's like walking into the gym and you've got flu. You know, you're not going to train. You're going to, maybe it's not good, you know, to train when you're not well. So this is debatable. This is completely debatable. Because when I try and talk to people that have been depressed, severely depressed, about mindfulness, they look at me like, what? You know, what are you talking about? This is so insensitive, right? You're being so insensitive. Anyway, I don't know. Maybe you've got views on it. But it's almost,
Mark,
yeah.
can I share a view on that?
Yes, of course. Thank you.
And it's so interesting that you say that, because I often find people who are depressed just don't have the energy to do it. And it does take energy to sit down on your mat, on your bench, and to, you know, even if it's just 10 minutes, like
No.
it's hard. And I think of just brushing your teeth for people who are struggling with depression. Just, it doesn't happen. But I often find, like, if I'm doing it with a person in the room, and I'll do something like a safe place relaxation, or a body scan, where I like hold their hand and guide them, it can bring so much relief. But it seems like they just don't have enough, like, I don't know, like ego strength or like mental capacity to do it.
I think you've just solved a big problem for me. To do a guided practice with them is the way to go. That's it. You're 100% right. If you're doing a guided practice where you're with them and you're holding a safe space for them and you're taking them on a journey or something like that, absolutely. God bless. Beautiful. I think that's so amazing. That's the way to go. That's why John said it works, because every time he did his MBSR, it was a guided body scan. He didn't leave them to their own devices. He was leading it every day. The pennies dropped. The pennies dropped. Thank you, Ursula. There we go. So that's the difference, you see? See, I learned something from you guys. That's the difference. A guided practice will mean the world of good. That is it. But to leave them to their own devices, you know, a lot of time people can't even make their bed in the morning. They're so depressed they can't even, you know, they can't even make their bed. They can't even do the dishes. You know, I know that state of mind. It's so hard to do basic things. Never mind start a meditation practice. That's why I ask people to fill the psychological well-being form out before the session, because if you are in a state of depression, I'm going to discourage you from doing the program unless I'm there with you every day, guiding you through your practice like that. I think that's such a valuable point. Great, wonderful, thank you. I'm on a high. See this? I'm geeking out right now. That's really great. Gosh, we've covered quite a lot of ground. Okay, so let's get back to any other. Sorry, I just want to sort of touch base with you guys. Are you good? Are you happy? Do you have any comments, questions around that? Okay. Right, let's come back to this. Now, here is another valuable asset. There's an app called Insight Timer. We're going to be using this as a tracking tool, and all my practices are loaded up on this app as well. So the homework is to listen to a guided meditation. Okay. As you listen, it starts to add to your time. So let's say you sit down, you lie down, whatever, you do a 12, 13-minute practice. Then the next day you do another 13-minute. Then it adds up. So now you've got 26 minutes in total. Okay. So you keep going and it keeps building and adding. If you are doing the teacher training aspect, or if you just want to do your 200 hours, you can do your 200 hours, no problem. You don't have to do the teacher training for that. And I will give you a certificate to say that you have completed the 200 hours, you know, and that's recognized and accredited. And then I can go on and check, what are you practicing? Are you doing your morning sit? Are you doing your meditation? And if you're not, I can say, why haven't you been practicing? It's been 3 days now. Come on, let's get going. In the same way that your personal trainer might moan at you because it's 3 days and you haven't been to the gym. And they say, well, you know, I'm here. You didn't phone me. Where you been? You know, someone's got to hold you accountable to get you going. I can see sweat starting to form, you know. I don't know, that's sort of, I mean, I used to just kind of leave it and let it go, but then no one was meditating. I think really the most important part of the program is not these classes. It is when you get up in the morning, or maybe evening time is better for you, it's just to do your practice. Okay? See, there it adds up the hours. This was taken a long, long time ago. I'm going to create a WhatsApp group, and obviously with your permission to join. So you're going to have to send me a message, save me on your phone, and send me a message and say, Mark, I want to be part of the group, WhatsApp group. And then I will give you your homework on a silver platter for the day. You don't even have to think about it. You don't have to ask, well, what's the next step? It will be admin only, so we won't be like, oh, it's Ursula's birthday, happy birthday, Ursula, and all of that, you know. No, I will manage it and everyone else will be just receiving. There'll be a combination of articles, video, and quotes. Quite a mix of stuff, but not too much. Okay, just the right amount. Okay, if you're happy with that, there's my number. Please message me this evening if you want to be part of the group. I do recommend it. Then tomorrow morning, I will give you exactly what to do with the app, how to load, how to upload it, what to look for, where to go. Step-by-step instruction. Okay? The app is an important part of the program because every week, as I said, you will be getting a new or different practice. Not for the first 2 weeks, though. We're going to stick with the breath practice. You will listen to me guiding it. And then if you don't want to listen to me, then fine. Then there are hundreds of really awesome teachers on the app, amazing. And you just type in the search breath meditation. You will get hundreds. Start listening to as many as you can. And especially if you're going to facilitate this work, because then you can start to build the language, start to develop the language. There's a language to mindfulness, actually. In the same way there's a language to yoga, right, Nisha? You know? Yeah. So there's a language to mindfulness. If you're a yoga teacher, it really helps, because a lot of that language is the same. You know. And if you do your teach back, then I will be able to, like, I'll know, wow, you've really been exploring different mindfulness practices. I can hear it. I can hear it in your language. I can hear it in the pauses, what you say, etc., etc. And we're also going to be journaling. So every day you'll be doing a 10 to 15-minute meditation, a journal practice of non-reactivity, which is coming from the definition. You see there? Non-reactivity, non-reactively. Basically here we're going to be catching ourselves throughout the day reacting rather than responding. So we're going to celebrate being responsive. There's a big fat plus. Yay! I could have pulled my middle finger at the taxi driver, but I didn't. Whoopee, you know, I am response able. I could have told my mother-in-law to go and get stuffed, but I didn't. Yay, I'm going to put that in my journal, you know. The negative is, I did shout at the taxi driver, or I moaned at my kids because I was in a bad mood and I didn't need to, or whatever, you know. Okay, I will be sending you more information about what this looks like, because some people are like, I still don't understand it. Don't worry, there's a video. I'm going to share it with you. We're going to start off just by tracking. So tracking is, you don't have to like write dear diary, you know, your deepest, darkest secrets. It's just tracking. I'll give you an example. In ancient Tibet, the monks used to have black stones and white stones in a bag, little stones, tiny. Every time they had a positive, beneficial thought or word or action, they would take a white stone out the bag and put it in their right pocket. If they had a negative thought, words, or action, they would take a black stone, put it in their left pocket. At the end of the day, they empty their pockets and count white stones versus black stones. And then they think, okay, too many black stones. Tomorrow, I'm going to try harder. Please understand, this is not a judgment exercise. This is not a self-flagellation, like I'm a bad person, okay? It is a tracking, like weigh less. If you're going to lose weight, you're going to weigh your food, you're going to weigh your calories, you're going to keep track, right? And if you cheat, you're not going to beat yourself up for it. You're going to be like, okay, well, you know, I had a chocolate brownie on this day and I shouldn't have, but anyway, I did. Tomorrow, got to try harder. Does it make sense? Any questions on this?
So Mark, the meditations, to track it, we have to do it via the Insight app.
Yeah.
Okay. So the meditations that are loaded on there.
They are, but
Okay. Yes.
there's also an option to just use a timer. So you may be an experienced meditator and you don't want to listen to a guided meditation, but Mark's voice is irritating me.
No. Not
Just hypothetical, okay?
Yeah.
You can just push the timer button. There's a timer option.
Okay.
And
Okay.
there's no talking, there's no guiding, there's nothing. It's just a timer. You can use.
Okay, but you've got to just put it on and put it off. Okay.
Correct.
Right. And then the journaling, that's just your own personal kind of journaling. It's not on an app or anything. Okay.
Well, I will email you tomorrow morning. There is an app that you can download, which I use. I quite like it.
Okay.
Some people hate apps. They want to use a real book.
Yeah.
I,
Me
I,
too.
I love those Moleskine books, that's buy it exclusive for this. I used to use a book, but now I put that app next to my Facebook app. So every time every time I go to Facebook, I see my journal app. I'm like, okay, you know. Apparently, people look at their phone every 4 minutes on average. Talk about erosion of focus. How can we focus on anything? We're looking at our phone every 4 minutes, and I don't know if you can hear the cats going mad. Do you know how many times we check email as a knowledge worker? I don't, maybe as a therapist, you wouldn't be as much as if you were in a corporate environment. 90 times a day on average. That's how many times people check email. 90 times a day. So between 90 times a day and every 4 minutes checking your phone, like how do we focus on anything? Another key aspect of why mindfulness is so important for our mental health, and I really experienced this last year, because I'd wake up in the morning and think, my life is a mess. My life is a mess, I've completely messed up my life. And then I would have this thought, oh, Mark is thinking that his life is a mess. So it's like this objective view of yourself, right? I'm not coping. Oh, I noticed that I'm having a thought that I'm not coping. You see? So we no longer identify with the narrative that's going on. It's just a story, and it's not me. It's this guy or that girl. And oh, I noticed that I'm thinking this, that's interesting. And I'm really personalizing it. I've noticed that I'm doing it. Can you see how that's good for our mental health? And if you can't, let's talk about it. Okay? It's quite profound, really. I think a lot of depression is when we really identify with our thoughts. But our thoughts are not really who we are. Our thoughts are not us. And we are not our thoughts. And that's also quite a powerful thing to contemplate. We're going to have a coffee or a tea once a day, and we're going to make that cup as if it was the most special cup in the world. We're not going to look at our phone. We're not going to look at the TV. We'll go sit outside on the porch, if you have a porch, and we drink that cup with all of our attention. And when your mind wanders, you bring it back. Every time your mind wanders and you bring it back, that is a repetition for your prefrontal cortex, for your anterior cingulate cortex. That is doing the work. Every time your mind wanders and you bring it back, that is the work. And that is how we build our focus and our awareness. Okay? That is how we do it. And the more we do it, the better we will get. When I was meditating with the monks, when they focus, when they put their mind on an object, it doesn't move. Their mind does not wander. Okay, it's not science fiction. I promise you, they've got charts and diagrams to show at what level. There's 9 stages, and I can show it to you. They know exactly which stage they are in their focus and where they need to go. And when they reach that point number 8 and 9, when they put their mind on their breath, their mind does not move to another thought or a distraction. at all. And then what happens is they start to experience something called jhana, which is Sanskrit. Jhana, it means bliss. States of mental bliss and clarity. I've had a taste of it. I can't say I'm at those high stages. The more I practice them, they call it shamatha or samadhi. Have you heard the word samadhi? Samadhi. Okay. So now I'm talking with my Asian hat on. So you'll get to see that in the program. There's a mix between the East and the West. Okay, I teach Asian philosophy, but I'm very, very well versed in Western secular mindfulness and mental health. So there's going to be a merging of those two, because these ancient wisdom schools actually had their own psychology. You know, you can call it spiritual, but for me, it's a technology. It is a technology. When we finish the teacher training, or even if you just finish the course and you don't do the teacher training, you will get a certificate. And it looks something like this. I've just posted off a whole lot yesterday. I couriered them all over the place, and I got messages today from people very happy. They had them framed, they put them on their wall. I love that. I love it when people tell me they've finished their 200 hours. It's just, and it's going to take you a while, about a year, okay, on average. Some people do it in 4 months or 3 months because they do retreats and stuff like that. So it will take you, basically, you can track on the app moments of mindfulness, not just meditation, okay? If you're going to go and do a yoga class, and I'm talking about a yoga class where it's focused. You know, I've been to yoga classes where like everyone's laughing and it's like a big jaw and, you know, like chit chat about what's happening on the weekend. That for me is not a mindful yoga class. But you can do a yoga class where it's mindful and you're aware of your breathing and your body. Then you can record that. Maybe you like, I know Ursula, you like to go for a run, you know. We can run mindfully. We can walk mindfully. Okay? As long as you stick to the definition. Memorize the definition. That's why it's so important, because if you're doing something and you think, is this mindfulness? Is what I'm doing now a mindful activity? Then the definition comes up. Ah, yes. I'm in the present moment. It's on purpose in a particular way. And it's with non-judgment, open-heartedness, and non-reactivity. Ah, it's mindfulness. There we go. Maybe it's gardening. Maybe you're working in your garden and you're sticking to the definition, you know, and you just really with the experience. So if you have any sort of, a lot of people message me all day long, I'm doing this thing now, is it mindful? You know, and then I remind them of the definition and I say, yeah, that's mindfulness. People ask me, can I watch TV mindfully? So I'm like, you know what, let's rather not include TV watching into the equation. You know, that's let's not do that. But I can tell you that people are struggling to watch TV these days. Because they're looking at their phone and then they're asking their partner, what just happened? You know, and then they're getting a slap on the head. Watch the damn movie. Don't ask me. I've had people that I've done like therapy for because they can't even focus on the TV. They can't even focus on a movie. You know, it's like, help me. I don't know what to do. I can't even watch a movie. I'm so distracted. Yeah, it's bad. It's like a pandemic, guys. It's like a pandemic. It's very bad. Ah, okay. So WhatsApp me if you want to be on the group, and then I'm gonna, let you know what the homework looks like, and then every Thursday night we're gonna meet up here. Hopefully Leon and his partner are gonna join. I don't know where they were tonight, but anyway, doesn't matter. I like it. I like it sort of intimate and small and manageable. Sometimes the groups get up to 12 people, and that just doesn't work well. That's not good. Okay. Any other comments or questions before we close our class tonight? Okay. Please message me if you have anything. Oh, the teachbacks, the teacher training. I just wanna run through that. After the 8 weeks, it's then going to shift to you teaching back. That's a 30-minute session. And basically, you're going to run your own meditation with some content. And there's a formula on how to do it. So even now, start thinking as you're starting to listen, learn, whatever. Think, what if I'm a yoga teacher? What would be cool to bring into a yoga class? If I'm a therapist, how am I going to bring this into my practice? What would be great? And then I'm going to do my teach back on that. If I'm an audiologist, is there a way that I can bring this into my practice? Do you know that my friend Laura said that she found research that mindfulness reduces tinnitus? Interesting, right? Yeah. She did a whole presentation on mindfulness and tinnitus. It was really fascinating stuff. Really fascinating stuff. I really enjoyed that. Yeah. So think about, like, from now, if you're going to do your teach back, what is that going to look like? Am I going to bring it in as part of my work? How is that going to affect my life, my work? Or is it going to be something completely different that I want to do? So the teach backs are cool, because then I just sit back and watch you guys, like, bring your flavor to it, your style, your content, everything. You don't have to copy me. You can just do your own thing. But before that, there'll be lots and lots of sort of one-on-ones and getting you ready for that experience. So that's a prerequisite to pass the live evaluation and to do the 200 hours in order for the full certificate. Yeah, that's very important. Okay. I think we're done.
Mark?
Yeah.
Mark, sorry. I've already been using Insight Timer, so would all of those hours count towards it?
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome. Yes. Very lucky. So you could get your hours a lot quicker, You see, let me just say one more thing. Mindfulness is a practice. Some people think that they can get a degree in mindfulness. Apparently you can. You can actually get a degree through the University of Stellenbosch. I find that really interesting. I think it's 2 years, very expensive. I would love to do it. But for me, it's a practice, like swimming. If you want to be a good swimmer, you got to swim. Like Chad Leclos, or what are these swimmers? Tatiana, what's her name? Tatiana. You got to jump in the pool. Now you can maybe study swimming. You can get a degree in swimming. I don't know. Maybe you can get a degree. How to swim, which is great, right? But jumping in the pool and swimming, that's where it counts. It's the same with mindfulness. We can learn about it, we can theorize, we can discuss. The practice is the most important thing. It's a practice. Every week, we will start the class with a check-in, okay? How was the week? How was your practice? How was your journal practice? How was your coffee practice? How was your meditation? And then you know, you get 4 or 5 minutes to check in. Also keeping each other accountable. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I think that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining the program. Super grateful and happy and looking forward to our journey together.
Thank you, Mark.
Good. I'll message you in the morning. Please don't forget to message me your number, and then we can add you to the group. Okay. Shop.
All right.
Have a
Thank
good weekend.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye now.